Did you see that? Did you see that Gal Gadot is pregnant again?
Really?
Yeah.
Congrats to Gal Gadot.
She announced today. Yeah, big time. It's her third child. I think she's got 2 girls. But she announced, her and her husband, on Instagram today that they are expecting a third. So there you go.
Oh,
hey, John.
What's up? Welcome, folks. Welcome to the Heroes World Podcast presents the Sidekick Show. We have Rob Gaudet here and myself, John Ho. Thank you for joining us. Looks like there's a bunch of people in the chat. Looks like Scott has got to go, so that's kind of sad.
He's driving home. This will be my
safe.
last.
Yeah, be safe.
See you in a few. So I guess maybe he'll come back.
Yeah. What's up, Frazier? What's up, Lewis? Got Lewis, do emojis show up on here? Look at you. Lewis has got a bunch of emojis. Sarah's in the house. What's up? Third child, Lewis. We're talking about Gal Gadot. Third child possible.
What? Yes. So yeah, Gal Gadot just announced this morning, that her and her husband are expecting their third child. So big congratulations to Gal on that. Scott's driving, and yet he's still typing away about fetch.
Hey, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. Yeah. So
every time you guys say that, I keep thinking you mean to say Fletch. And I'm like, I'm down to rewatch those Fletch movies, but I'm starting to realize that you don't mean the Chevy Chase movies.
No. You think they're going to stand up? What year is that?
The first one was 85, and then it was 89 or 91 was Fletch Lives.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, 89 is semi-recent. I don't know.
89 semi-recent. Okay.
Yeah, semi-recent. Well, it's newer. I thought we were talking like early 80s. But anyways, what are we doing today? We're
John, how's it going?
Right?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, we're talking, in case you haven't seen the branding on John's shirt and mine and the coffee cup, we are talking Man of Steel. So we put a big giant pause on our 80s action movie bracket. And we decided, because March 18th is the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, we decided for the next few weeks, we are going to be revisiting Zack's contribution to the DCEU. Starting off tonight with Man of Steel. Next week is Batman vs. Superman. The week after that is Whedon's version of Justice League that will then lead into Zack's Justice League. So yeah, we're kicking it off tonight with Man of Steel, and I'm excited. I know John's
Man of Steel.
excited.
I can see why a couple of friends of mine only buy the US versions, and I can see why, because this French version.
I don't understand. What do you mean the US version?
Some people buy the US versions of DVDs and Blu-rays because it doesn't have this French text underneath it. I don't know why I'm holding this up. But we're both holding up copies of Man of Steel. Yes, and it has
it's right.
Le Homme de Issier. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Dacier. I don't know.
Dacier. Okay, whatever. My French is bad.
Whatever.
It doesn't sound. Taking it in grade 3 now.
Yeah, I know. But if you think about it, Man of Steel. Doesn't seem. What's Superman in French? I guess Le Superman. I don't know. But
just put "le" in front of everything. It's in French all the time.
Dacier. Doesn't sound good at all.
Je m'appelle Claude.
It's Clark, actually, not Claude. But yeah, welcome everybody. We hope that you had an opportunity to watch the movie. It is on Netflix in Canada, and so you've really had no excuse. You've had a whole week.
Yeah, we did. So lots of time. Even I managed to squeeze it in. I tried to get a second viewing in, didn't quite make it there, but I'm relying on Mr. Rob's super fandom to carry us through. So let's talk a little bit about new releases at the shop. It's actually kind of a small week. I don't know if it's a holiday in the US or just
there's 5 weeks this in March, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I guess February wraps. So February's all gone. Damn. Yeah. What happened to February? But let's go over some of the new releases. So new comic-wise at Heroes World, we have America Chavez, Made in the USA, #1, brand new series, 5-issue limited, I believe. Avengers 43, Avengers Mech Strike, which is Avengers in kind of like Gundam-y Transformers type suits. Batman 106. So this is the return to regular Batman. So Future State is over, and the regular DC comics are resuming now. So this is going to be a big deal book. A lot of people picking up multiple copies. I don't know what's going to happen in it, but sounds pretty cool. Berserker from Boom Studios is finally coming out. This is the Keanu Reeves project, where he's actually getting a writing credit. I think he did an online trailer for it. all kinds of fun stuff. And he's kind of like this half god, immortal type character, very old guardish, that somehow starts working for the government and becoming some type of agent. So it sounds really cool. It's been in the works for a while. Kickstarter got a lot of heat and things like that. So people are looking forward to that. Crime Syndicate #1, new DC book. Demon Days X-Men #1, which is like a manga-ish kind of X-Men book. Firepower by Kirkman and Samney. It's look very Avatar-ish from Skybound Studios, I believe. Hellions #10. DC's Infinite Frontier #0, which is the one shot that kicks off all this crazy new DC stuff that's going to be going down. So you don't want to miss that one. James Bond, Agent of Spectre #1. A bunch of King and Black series, Gwenom versus Carnage #3, and the Handbook #1. So if you guys like reading those handbooks, I know some people really like delving into all that text and stuff like that. It's not really a comic book, but it's in a comic book format. So that's going to come out. A lot of good stuff in there. Marvel Action Captain Marvel, which is part of the IDW kids line of Marvel Comics. Kind of weird that Marvel's licensed out a lot of their kids comics to almost a competing or maybe friendly company, I guess. New image book called Nocturna #1. Sensational Wonder Woman #1. Star Wars High Republic, a book that's getting a lot of heat, #3, featuring a lot of new Jedi characters and things like that. We're also getting a second print of #2. Suicide Squad #1. Swamp Thing #1. And we are getting the X of Swords hardcover, which is going to feature all 23 issues of that big X-Men crossover crammed into one gigantic hardcover. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun if you missed out on that series. That's the Hickman stuff. Really taking X-Men to places where they've never been before. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's pretty much it. Pretty light week. I'm sure I'm getting some card and other new releases, but they escape my mind at the moment. So I'll kick it to Rob. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was going to say, no, that Nocturna, that is that new image book that you mentioned. That's Scott Snyder and I think it's Tony Daniel, right?
I believe
art.
so, yeah.
So, yeah, that was one that they had mentioned. I think there was a Kickstarter for the back in around the holidays, I believe, for if you wanted certain variants, whatever. But apparently the book's quite good, so I'm quite intrigued to see how that goes. And I personally, I can't wait to grab that X-Men hardcover, because the House of X and Powers of 10, that hardcover was a bit of an oversized hardcover, right? So it's gorgeous. So I'm quite looking forward to the 10 of Swords kind of joining up with that. With that House and
usually when they have a big crossover like this, they'll release like an oversized hardcover. Yeah, to kind of catch the early kind of collectors type people, and then they'll release it into a soft cover and maybe kind of split it up later on and things like that.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. That's a lot of stuff coming in. And actually, I went to the store on Saturday. It was so good. I actually walked in, and I don't think I've been there, John, since it's almost been a year, like a year minus a couple of days, or give or take a couple of days. So for those who haven't been to the store, in the middle of doing, I guess like a facelift, moving some stuff around, it's looking really good, keeping it fresh. And there's lots of product, a lot of stuff. So you should definitely, for those who are in, what's that?
We got a lot of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is a lot. Like I was spending more time there than I kind of allotted because I had to get back. But especially because I drove through provinces. But I had to. But there's so much. I was like, oh my god, and I was also very. I had to be careful because my wife kept checking my bank record to see what was happening. So,
such a drama queen. It's maybe like a 40-minute drive, right?
But anyways, if you have an opportunity to get to the store, definitely do so because it's great, and you can pick up. It was so good seeing those comics on the wall. So, so good job to you and Andre for that. And Don, I got news for you. Ready for some news?
Yeah, let's hit me with the news.
Yeah. Hit you with the news. I got some movie news for you, John. So last week it was announced that DC is developing a Blue Beetle movie. It is being directed by Angel Manuel Soto. So this is going to be the Jamie Reyes. Is it Reyes or Reyes? Reyes version of Blue Beetle. Obviously, DC wanted to do some representation with the Latino community. The director is obviously Latino, and it was very important for him to bring that voice. So they are developing. I think there's already a script. He just recently gave an interview, and he said that the script is out there and it's really good. So that's obviously, I think it might be fast tracked. I'm going to call this now, though, John. I believe that Jamie Reyes will be played by Zolo Marijuana, who is from Cobra Kai. He plays Miguel on Cobra Kai. So I'm calling it now. I bet any money that he will be cast in the Blue Beetle movie. Speaking of movies, Marvel, they did an interesting thing last week, John, where all the stars of Spider-Man 3 kept pushing out some fake titles. So you had, I don't know if you saw this online. They had Phone Home, Spider-Man Phone Home. They had Home Slice. They released Home Wrecker. And it was the following day when they finally announced that the title for the third Spider-Man movie is called No Way Home. So that's it. I mean, listen, everybody's always like delving in, trying to figure out what this all means, but we know this will take place as part of the Multiverse of Madness, I guess, umbrella of films. We know Doctor Strange will be in it, so No Way Home. I mean, who knows what that means? I mean, it is, when last we saw our web-headed hero, he was being outed by J. Jonah Jameson online, right? So,
yeah. So the first one is called Homecoming, right? First one is Homecoming.
Yep.
Second one is Far From Home.
Correct.
And now it's Nowhere to Home.
No, Nowhere to Home. No Way Home.
I know.
Nowhere to Home.
Nowhere to Run was a great Van Damme movie. His departure from his normal action into more of a romantic role. Anyways.
All right. On the TV front, we got word that that the Loki series will be dropping on June the 11th on Disney Plus. So right now, if you've been watching, we just did a recap yesterday of episode 8 of WandaVision. The week after next. So this week is the 5th. This is the finale of WandaVision. They're off for a week. The 12th is a skip week, and the week after that, the 19th, I believe, is when Falcon the Winter Soldier run through. That goes to about April 23rd, and then they're taking a bit of a break. And the reason they're taking a break, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but Disney did announce there is a new Star Wars show. It's a animated show that it takes place right after Clone Wars. It's called Star Wars Bad Batch, and it's overseen by Dave Filoni. I think this was a previously unannounced project. So I'm sure Andre right now is giddy at the prospect of a Filoni animated series that takes place after Clone Wars. So that's why there's the length of time between Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki, but Loki drops on June 11th. And finally, on the video game front, John, for those who don't know, you and I have been playing a little bit of Fortnite the last couple of weeks together. And so, I guess the last season, Fortnite had teamed up with Marvel, a pretty successful crossover event. Looks like DC is getting in on the Fortnite wagon. They have joined up with Epic Games to produce a 6-issue miniseries that starts in April. It's called Fortnite 0 Point. And so I'm just going to read here. It says that the 6-issue miniseries starts in April, supposed to uncover Fortnite secrets that have never been released in-game. So I guess there's a whole bunch of mythology that hasn't been released before. The comic's going to include a code for fans to unlock various DC-themed Fortnite items, probably like skins. I think Harley Quinn, the Harley Quinn skin is going to be one of the first that you can unlock. So this, it seems to be, all signs are pointing to DC now having their own, 12 or 16 week Fortnite themed event, maybe in the next season. So there you go. And today, do you know what today is, John? Aside from Monday, March the 1st. Are you paying attention, John?
No. What is it?
Okay. Today is Zack Snyder's birthday.
Oh, yes. Buddy. Mr. Snyder's birthday.
Big cheers and a happy birthday to Mr. Snyder. What an appropriate day to be starting off our rewatch of his movie, DCU, on March 1st. Happy birthday, Mr. Snyder. So where we go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I'm just going to jump to the chat quickly. Thank you for everyone for posting your stuff. A lot of people did their homework, Rob, which is really cool. So a lot of people watched Man of Steel. It's pretty funny. Michelle just finished it right before now, so she's gonna be fresh. So she's gonna be able to offer us a lot of input. Gordon's pretty funny here. He says that Sarah fell asleep during the last third of the movie, right? So he's copying Gordon's notes.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're gonna be ready for this, Rob. Some people are like, "Hey, that was Michelle says she's the smart one," and a couple people are saying maybe this movie is not as hot as Rob thinks or we think. But
wait, I haven't seen that at all. I haven't seen that comment at all. That's you saying that.
No, Michelle just said she's a smart one taking a nap during the last quarter or last third, unless we're just saying maybe the last third doesn't stand up to the rest. But let's go down here. I just want to hit the comments quickly. There's a little talk about Henry Cavill. People dreaming about Henry Cavill. I think Sarah said she was dreaming about Henry Cavill. Scott says Henry Cavill's a good-looking dude. So hopefully Scott just drove really fast and got home really fast, or maybe he pulled over. Is leaving comments. And compliments on Henry Cavill's nerdiness. Lewis just says world needs more Henry Cavill. Fraser compliments his PC build, which
that's true. Yeah,
crazy.
Did you see that? That was back in I want to say maybe November or so. Maybe it was even December. I guess he was on a break from The Witcher and decided to rebuild or build a new PC, and that went like viral. It was crazy.
I remember he posted a bunch of Warhammer stuff. He was painting Warhammer stuff, and the whole Warhammer community, Reddit, and everything blew up. So I figured it might be my in, because we maybe can't interview him for talking about DC stuff and movie stuff because there's so many Hollywood places getting on him. But maybe if I hit him up and I go, hey, we want to talk Warhammer and painting and nerd stuff, maybe we can get him on here somehow.
For sure he would.
That would be nuts.
Sure. I just wanted to point out today that Fraser had commented on our Facebook post earlier today, and he said that Man of Steel is his favorite Snyder DC movie. And I thought that was very, nothing like a politician to give that type of an answer, Fraser. So way to go. He's not saying whether he liked the movie or didn't like it. He was just saying it was his favorite of the Snyder DC movies. So there we go.
It was a good way of putting it. So who knows? Maybe he really enjoys the other Snyder movies, and this happens to be his favorite of all. Or he's saying all the other ones are POSs, and this is the only good one that stands out. Right. What's up, Jesse? Jesse mentions there was a little news snippet. I don't know if it was just clickbait or something, that Henry Cavill was involved in some type of Mass Effect project or looking at some Mass Effect project. But man, if someone was tapping into Andre's head for like his dream thing to happen, I'm pretty sure that was probably top of the list. So much so that he kind of basically brushed it off, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I wouldn't be that lucky."
But what's interesting is that I believe Henry Cavill, he is repped by Danny Garcia, and she is a former wife of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, but is also his manager and business partner. So I find it to be very interesting that you got Henry Cavill, who plays Superman. You have Dwayne Johnson, who is right now working out like a beast to get in Black Adam shape for the upcoming filming of that movie. I don't know how you Shazam. I don't know how you can't, like, I would love to, and obviously we know that Black Adam takes place way before current continuity. But man, you've got Henry Cavill, who he's huge himself, right? So I would personally love to see that. They're both represented by the same individual. They got to make that work, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Have we ever seen The Rock and Henry Cavill together in a photo or anything like that?
What are you trying to say, that they're like, it's like pokeroo, like one turns into the other?
No, I'm just saying. Like sometimes these Hollywood types, we don't know which of those two is smaller. We don't know which of the two is bigger. They both look incredible on the screen, but there's angles and things like that, and Hollywood. Michelle brings up The Watchmen. What are your thoughts on The Watchmen, Rob? Is The Watchmen considered part of this
it's
DCU? Should it be folded into Justice League Snyder Cut?
Yeah, you know what? I've always kind of felt that The Watchmen needs to stay outside of the DC continuity. I know that obviously with Doomsday Clock, Jeff Johns has really integrated The Watchmen into the DC universe. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I understand the idea from a story perspective, because it definitely opens up a lot. You bring in Dr. Manhattan, which they've done with DC Universe, and that's how this whole rebirth thing is really kind of predicated on Dr. Manhattan being involved. But I've always kind of felt that it should just be in its own universe and just kind of stay away from DC. So to answer the question in a long-about way, I think it needs to stay out of the DCEU, and it should just be its own. I actually like.
Yeah, I was gonna say thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah,
everyone in the comics. Are you guys down with The Watchmen? Did you guys enjoy that movie? The TV show was phenomenal. But the movie, I feel like it's a mixed bag. So I remember watching it and thinking it was all right.
I didn't say The Rock was out of shape, Fraser. I think I said he's huge just in terms of like his workout regime. He's massive.
At times he seems to amp it up.
He's actually, it looks like he's gaining more muscle, and yet his body mass and his fat, like he's getting leaner to play Black Adam. You could just tell, like he's much more thin in the face, and yet he's just much more ripped, right? So I'll never get there, so I don't even want to worry about it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it seems like generally a lot of people were fine with The Watchmen.
Yeah, I liked it.
I don't know how it was critically received. I don't remember anymore.
Now, there is a director's cut of that. I haven't seen it, though.
You haven't? Do you not own it in your collection?
No, because you know what? For a while, you could get it, and then it went away. And now you can't. Although, I did buy it on iTunes, and now I'm wondering if it was actually also came with the director's version. I don't remember. So
you might have, and you just don't know.
Yeah. I could look it up now. I'm not going to. So, so we are talking. I'll just get into it, John. We are talking the beginning of the DCEU. We're talking Man of Steel. All
right. So Man of Steel. So Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill, directed by Zack Snyder, also starring Amy Adams, who also considered starring Russell Crowe.
Jeez, now I'm turning into John. Russell Crowe, Kevin Costner, Diane Lane. And then did you get your boy General Rudd, Michael Shannon?
Yeah. Michael Shannon in it. Shannon.
Yeah, there you
go. for you Scrubs fans. Shannon. Anyways, released in June 2013, so it was a summer blockbuster movie. Cost them anywhere between $225 million to $258 million. I don't know what the discrepancy is. And the box office was $668 million. So considered a success, I believe. I don't know if they wanted it to be bigger than that. I know critically it wasn't as well received as they had hoped. And Netflix has a great one sentence description. I don't know if they do this for all their movies or not, but I'll just read it to you guys quickly in my movie guy voice. No, I'm just joking.
Do it.
Can we do a movie guy voice? All right.
Do it. Be like
Clark Kent must keep his powers hidden from the world. But when an evil general plans to destroy the Earth, the Man of Steel springs into action. That's the best I can do. I don't have that baritone voice. But I think that's pretty good. Man of Steel. It's got Man of Steel in there. It's got evil general. Springs into action. Got Clark Kent in there. They avoid the Superman word, but I guess Man of Steel is equivalent to Superman.
Well, I think, and we'll discuss why they avoid the word Superman as we get into it. I wanted to answer your question though about the amount of money it made. It was $683 million. I think it came out in June, as you said, 2013. The movie, it was a success in part. The problem is that Warner Brothers had this massive expectation for it. So, and I'll tell you why. Here's what preceded it on the rival schedules. You had Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the first Avengers, the Avengers, and then Iron Man 3 came out the month before Man of Steel. So you got 2, 4, 6, 7 movies that came out before Man of Steel, and they were all making just a shit ton of cash. So I think that Warner Bros. And DC were expecting probably a higher return on investment in Man of Steel. They were happy with it, but I think they wanted a whole lot more. So.
Yeah, and I wonder if it could be blamed on Superman that Christopher Reeve even had dwindling. I can't say it. Dwindling box office, and the trash fest that was Quest for Peace, and then you had the Brandon Routh one, which wasn't really quite well received, and no follow up to that, obviously. But shows like Smallville did well. The animated series did well. But yeah, it's kind of I don't know. Maybe they.
I think Superman was always their difficult time, the difficult property for them to really. This also came off of this movie was, as we obviously have said ad nauseum, directed by Zack Snyder, but was also produced by Christopher Nolan, who has had a hand in a lot of the DC movies. He was actually offered to direct this movie following The Dark Knight, and he wanted nothing to do with the character. He said it's too difficult to be. First of all, he was done with superheroes. He said it's way too difficult to actually make Superman a grounded character.
Doesn't he have a screenwriting credit on this though?
It's co-written by David Goyer.
And I think Nolan has a credit on there as well, according to Wikipedia. Who knows how early on in the process that was.
If only we both had the movie to be able to look at the credits, John. David Goyer, Christopher Nolan. Yeah, story by Chris Nolan, David Goyer.
I have an envelope inside of my copy of Man of Steel.
You have an envelope?
I have an envelope. Money in it? I don't know. It'd be nice if there's money. It's probably a receipt. Oh no. Hey. Oh, so one of our customers made a prediction and we wrote it and put it in here. And
wait, 2013?
Yeah, I don't know if I should read this. This is the deal with JLA. Should we save it? It's pretty accurate. I guess I'll read it now on the air. So anyways, It says General Zod corpse will be cloned or his DNA manipulated to create a nemesis/enemy for Justice League. I feel like that's exactly what happened, was it not?
Yeah. That's really
kind of
weird.
Cool. It's neat that I found that in there. Shout outs to Frank who wrote that note. Anyways, let's start going through. I guess we'll do a quick summary of the movie, and then we'll get into thoughts on the movie and things like that. And feel free to join in, folks, with whatever we might have missed. So I like it when people break movies into acts, and they're like, Act 3 was this, Act 2 wasn't as strong, whatever. I don't know exactly what causes that designation. Is it a time designation, Rob, or is it like a story arc?
It's usually a story progression.
Story progression. So is every movie always only 3 arcs?
3 acts. Yeah.
3 acts.
Yeah, because it's based on a play. Play is a story in 3 acts, right? So that's what generally a movie is the first, second, and third act of a movie. We start off. Yeah. So do you want to give us a summary, John? Because you're.
I didn't write anything up, but I know Act 1 is probably. I guess I'll try and guess what maybe the acts are. Since I'm like the noob at this. So Act 1 would, I guess, be maybe the entire Krypton portion, right up till Superman. We cut to Superman wandering the Earth. So we have Russell Crowe, who's Jor-El. We have the birth of Clark Kent. Scott's in the comments. I don't know how he felt about that birth being portrayed on screen. If it lives up, if it's better or worse than the WandaVision.
He's not. Oh, okay, but at least the WandaVision one was grounded in Earth science, John.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much time passed between them having that baby and then Krypton exploding. But anyways, that's a point. Right. But I don't know if we want
John off the rails. All right.
Anyway, should we just start talking about it in general, you think, or should we do a full summary and then start talking about things?
Well, we could do a real quick summary. It essentially, the movie starts off on Krypton. We see a whole. It's more fleshed out Krypton than we've seen ever on any portrayal of Superman cinematically. Obviously, being the most you would ever have with Superman 1 and a little bit for Superman 2. Starts off in Krypton, as John says. It's a lot more fleshed out as to. We meet Zod. The understanding of what his mission is essentially, it's not fanatical. It's ground into his DNA because Kryptonians have been genetically manufacturing, for lack of a better term, children for centuries. Laura and Jor-El essentially had a child naturally, Kal-El, and the planet's gonna blow up. Spoiler, it's what happens. So they rocket him off to Earth. And the Kents find him. Now, the interesting part about this is that it's not a linear progression of stories, a lot of a back and forth. We are more in a current timeline with Clark Kent, who is trying to find himself in the world. A lot of flashback scenes when things happen that remind him of situations that arose when he was a kid, such as, the freaking out in class with his powers start to manifest, saving the kids in the school bus, and so on and so forth. We see it's a new version of Pa Kent being killed. We see essentially him investigating and try to find out who he is. Much like Superman, the movie with Richard Donner, Clark travels north and finds himself up in the northern part of Canada and finds an old scout ship. Takes that. Lois Lane does investigating. She finds out who he is based on his past, this mythology of good deeds that have been kind of traveling behind him. He discovers who he really is. He becomes what he was destined to be, but he's not quite given the Superman name. And before he can really enjoy it, he gets home and tells his mom, "Hey, I found out where I'm from. I found out who my parents are." She's like, "Great, come on in, let's have dinner." And as he's doing the dishes, like a good Kansas boy is doing, General Zod interrupts with a message around the world saying that you are not alone, and hey, humans, turn him over to us, or we're going to obliterate your planet. And now begins the battle of Clark trying to save the ones that he considers himself as human, to try to save humanity. At the same time, trying to in some way, preserve and understand like this history of Krypton, until he knows it's all for shit. And it's a battle between him and Zod, and one will rule supreme. And so that is, in a very truncated version, that's a summary of what we have. I will finish off by saying he doesn't become Superman until the very end of the movie, and that's where we are.
Well, did you mention the harvesting ships?
No, I didn't go into the terraforming. So yeah.
Yeah, is that why Krypton was failing? Because I remember they kind of mentioned that they were harvesting all the energy from Krypton, and that's what's causing it to. So they used that exact same thing maybe on Krypton. That's why Krypton died as well.
Well, so what they were doing is they were mining all of the elements within Krypton. They were mining right down to the core, and they essentially sucked the life out of the planet. So it was unable to survive, and that's why it exploded. So they had actually sent out, for thousands of years, sent out scout ships to try to find other planets to terraform, to make it out to be a new Krypton, and we're just never successful.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's pretty good, Rob. Look at you, dropped them all. Do your acts line up with Lewis here had posted his acts here? Krypton, Act 1, Act 2, Clark wandering around, Act 3, Zod, the whole Zod thing. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, I would say so. Although I feel like Act 1, because the Krypton, it only lasts 10 minutes. Those are pretty.
Yeah. Some people mention the Krypton part could be considered a prologue.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could say that Act 1 could almost go right up to the point where he discovers the ship. He drops Lois off on the iceberg, which is, I mean, that was really nice of him. And so I would say that Act 2 kind of starts of him discovering himself right at that moment where he puts the key in, he meets Jor-El, he understands who he is. I would think that would be probably more of a maybe an appropriate Act 2 scene, where he discovers who he is and what he can do. The flying scene, he understands about his lineage, his heritage. And I would probably say Act 3 is when you have, one could almost argue that Act 3 is really that final battle with Zod. Once the rest of the Kryptonians are sucked into the black hole, that final act is, because there's a sense of finality in that, but then Zod remains. So you could almost say that last 20 minutes is almost Act 3. So
yeah, no, it's interesting because I've never understood myself how to break that down. So I think that was really cool. So I guess let's dive into, I was going to hit our favorite scenes, but a lot of people are getting in the comments. So I think we need to get into the comments, and we'll kind of, hopefully our favorite scenes will come up, and maybe criticisms you guys have about the movie and we have about the movie, or existed at the time that the movie was released. So let's jump into the comments quickly, and we'll kind of move around from there. So Scott does say, delivering your own baby, not ideal for sure, but it was a bit fast and no blood. Yeah. Being there twice. Rob probably can attest as well. I
wasn't with you when your wife had the baby, John.
Yeah. Did you cut both umbilical cords for your kids?
So Noah, not to get too into it, my son was a C-section. My daughter was natural. Okay. She was second. So yes, I did do that. Although I did ask the doctor, he goes, "Do you want to do this?" I said, is there somebody more qualified to be able to, are you sure? And it was very rubbery. It was like calamari.
For my first
they didn't taste like calamari because I didn't, but it was just like that.
Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, no. For my first daughter, I was like, no, I'm good. I'll let your pros do it. And I actually regretted that decision later on. I did cut the cord for the second baby. And shout outs to both. Whatever Scott does, whatever your technical title is, y'all are rock stars. Yeah, obstetrician. Yeah, I didn't want to butcher it, but y'all are rock stars. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It was funny at one point. The guy was delivering my first daughter, and he kind of, I guess, he kind of looked away for a second, and then the nurse was like, "Hey," and then he had to like turn around and go, "Oh yeah, I got it. Don't worry." And I was like, "All right, sure."
Although I will say though, in my and no, I don't want to get too deep in this. No pun intended, but I felt like the nurses did a lot of the work. And then for ours, the doctor was literally playing solitaire on the computer. And as my daughter was already crowning and on her way out, he kind of then came in. He was like the Tom Hanks. He came in for the close. So a big shout out to the nurses as well, who in my experience did a lot of that heavy lifting, I guess you could say.
I don't know. The second doctor was a rock star. He was like a younger guy. He came in. He was actually teaching someone else how to do it. And when I saw him leaving, he had like a cool Tom Cruise leather jacket on and stuff. I was like, man, this guy's a rock star. That guy's awesome.
Put his sunglasses on. He goes, let's go play some
yeah. So Scott has also got the Top Gun jacket, and when he leaves the office, it's pretty awesome. So Michelle says the Krypton was the best part, and polarizing. Scott actually says he could have done without the Krypton part. I remember when I first,
very interesting.
Yeah. So I remember when I first watched it, I was like, wow, there is way too much Russell Crowe going on here. I want to see more Superman. But upon this rewatch, I actually do quite like the setup they had for Krypton and all those sets. And I think, does he ride a dragon at one point? I think he hops on some type of flying creature, right?
Yeah, he does. And so I think that was a lot of the controversy about this, is because we had all really been informed by the Donner version of Krypton. And then, this kind of did poach a lot from the John Byrne Man of Steel Krypton with the headpieces and some of the garb that the Kryptonian Council were wearing. But people were like, wow, there's a lot of Krypton. But you know what? I was okay with it. People were really upset about the dragon thing because that was only a couple years after Avatar had done it. And there was a little bit of a similarity in their design and style. So people were like, wait a minute, was James Cameron involved in this? But I liked it. I liked because you know what? It gave a lot more. We know that Krypton is going to listen. It's like the Titanic. When you're watching the movie, sorry, Rose and Jack, you guys are going down. So you know it's going to happen, but give me a little bit more information. I think they did a great job of giving us that. They set up the whole story about what Zod's mission was as to why he was so pissed with Kal-El. It wasn't that he got away and he got screwed over by his dad. It was because he had the Codex. His goal was to ensure life on Krypton or Kryptonian life continue. If that's your whole DNA-based mission, that's his motivation for hunting, to try to ensure that you complete your mission. So I think that was perfectly fine setting it up for that reason.
And if you want to kind of get a compare contrast, go dig up your old original Superman Donner cut and watch the Krypton exploding scene versus this new one, and you might have a little bit more appreciation for it. The next scene that is kind of coming up in the chat now is Pa Kent dying in the tornado. So some people say it was very sad. Scott says it gets him every time. And Jonathan Yo says he said it was pretty bad because it seems silly. So for when I first saw it, I actually thought it was silly too. I thought it was like Kevin Costner's like, hey, you know what? No, I'm okay. I'm gonna die. But in kind of rewatching the movie and seeing what that particular version of Jonathan Kent, and Andre pointed this out during a lot of our podcasts and stuff, that he was teaching Clark kind of like a different method, like kind of like the stay hidden when the time comes. It was almost kind of like God, like there was a kind of like a destiny type thing, and you'll decide if you want to go and help the people or you want to do whatever. So him kind of sacrificing himself, I thought was kind of like in line with what he was teaching. Like, I want you to be safe, or want you to kind of get to your destiny. And I'm willing to sacrifice myself for that cause. So I don't know how you felt about the sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen different iterations of Pa Kent dying. It wasn't the standard heart attack, which is generally how he's always died in the comics.
It's typically he grabs his arm and has a heart attack. I think we've seen it at least twice.
Well, listen, we saw it in the Donner movies, and we saw it recently with the Superman and Lois, TV show. I liked it. I didn't get the sense that, when I watched that scene, I never got the sense that he was teaching this lesson more as he was protecting his son. Because how do you explain to a whole bunch of strangers that you were out there 2 seconds ago and all of a sudden you're back and you're safe. How his whole, and this is where I know a lot of people were really upset about that whole line where after Clark saves the bus full of kids and you have the mom there, and she's, you know, saying it's a miracle, Jonathan, and you know, Clark's outside and he goes, what was I supposed to do? And he goes, we talked about this. And he goes, what, should I let them all die? And he goes, I don't know, maybe. Like, people were really upset. They go, Pa Kent would not let other kids, but it wasn't a matter of that he want other kids to die. It was a matter of like, I don't know what the answer is, but you have to protect yourself, because otherwise you're going to be a government. They're going to take you. They're going to experiment on you. And he's being a dad trying to protect his son who he can't relate to with all these other changes. So I was okay with it. I actually really like Kevin Costner as Pa Kent. I like the messaging.
Upon rewatch, I think at the time when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of different. This is weird." But upon rewatch and re-examining of it, I actually quite enjoy that the difference in that. And Andre's line of thought was that even in despite of all this, despite being taught to stay hidden, all this kind of stuff, he still becomes Superman, still does Superman things. So it was kind of like in his nature that he has to do all these kind of things. I'll hit a quick comment here. Jesse mentions that when the army guys are talking terraforming, and there's this one soldier or officer who keeps asking I think the Dr. Hamilton or whatever, the questions so they can explain it to the audience, which I thought was pretty funny. It's like, what's terraforming? And then I think there was a follow-up question, which was really funny. Yeah,
they needed that exposition to be able to explain to people who are like, wait, what is terraforming? I don't understand. Yeah. So we'll hit it. Also, shout outs to Joey. I popped her comment up a second ago. Joey, we miss you too. So hopefully we'll do some things in this coming year with you. Michelle does mention he doesn't come Superman until the end, really. And never really becomes so this is one of our kind of like the ongoing threads, like whenever Henry Cavill is announced unattached to the movie and things like that, it feels like he hasn't really had a chance to get going. And this Superman movie was pretty much a setup. It was set up, and he pretty much becomes Clark Kent at the very end. He goes to the planet, he has the glasses, all that kind of stuff. It's like just the beginning. This is kind of just this is day one Superman, right? Like when he put on the suit, it's all within the same day that all these events unfold. So he's literally day one Superman. I see what you're saying. Well, it might be day one or day two because it's nighttime. So when that message comes, it's nighttime, right? And then the following day is when he goes to the church and Zod comes. So it's within a couple of days for sure.
Yeah. The same officer is at the end when Superman brings down the satellite, and he kind of like laughs. She's like, oh yeah, I think he's kind of hot. I don't know if that was necessary. I think I think her being finding it humorous that Superman did that to the general, I think was great. I don't know if she necessarily had to say I think he's hot, but
her name was Carrie Ferris. It was General Ferris, Carrie Ferris, whatever. So it was kind of like a play on words of Carol Ferris from the Green Lantern universe.
Oh, interesting. I was going to say, is that an Easter egg?
It was.
So let's kind of go a little bit more. So Scott does confirm nurses do 99% of the work, and Scott comes in and does a little stand-up act at the end. I think you're selling yourself short, Scott. I see the work. I see the expertise you need to be at the end and hopping into all those different delivery rooms. But that's a very funny way of putting it. Michelle mentions she loves the art direction of Krypton. Rob, did you ever watch the Krypton follow-up show they kind of did to this?
Yeah, so here's a funny thing. So it just, and I don't want to ramble on too much about that. I was always against it. I think I even said to you, I kind of remember having a conversation in the store. I was like, who cares about Superman's grandfather? This is stupid. I don't want to watch this. I ended up watching the first season. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was not what I expected. I didn't watch season 2. It's on Crave. I just have never gotten around to it. They canceled it after the second season, but I heard it was quite good. I enjoyed season 1 for what it was. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah.
I started to watch it, and I really did like the aesthetic behind it and the feel of it. But this is all after the fact, right? I didn't tune in when it was airing. I didn't pay attention at all when it was airing. Maybe I just wasn't watching any TV, to be honest, at that time. So let's see what else we got here before we start hitting anything that we want to hit.
Well, sorry, I saw that. I'm just going to put this up here. Michelle disagrees that in a tornado, if Clark had saved Jonathan, he easily, I mean, with all the confusion of everybody under the tunnel and their tenure, he could have easily explained it away or just been like, oh, wow, you made it around. Yeah, I guess so. I think, I made an earlier comment that Chris Nolan said that there's no way I can't make this character relatable. I don't want to do superheroes anyways. But I think that they did their best to make this as grounded as a story as possible. And the idea being, for the whole movie, it's like, what happens when you have this person with powers living on a planet and then you have these aliens coming down? How would you react? What would you do? And I think that tornado scene, as much as you say, well, he could have easily zipped in and zipped out and got him quickly, I think that the reality is, I don't think that you could have without. I mean, listen, if he had done it and zipped in and zipped out, for sure Andre would have been like, wait, you're trying to tell me like 100 people under that bridge and nobody saw that happening? That guy was sitting out there for a second, second he's back in the bridge. Like, come
does
on.
He actually use, like, I don't recall him using like super speed to just kind of take care of something quickly, a la Smallville kind of.
No, well, the powers that they showed him using growing up were limited because we only had a few scenes of him growing up, right? You had the scene of him freaking out as a young kid, which was amazing. Like, there's the two actors who played Clark Kent as kids did a phenomenal job. So you saw him freaking out with his powers, and he hides in the closet, and he can hear and see his classmates making fun of him, and his mom gets to school and she's like, he goes, the world's too big. Like that, I mean, it was very relatable. I could, I get it. I understood what he was trying to say, and she's like, focus on my voice. So you had that scene, you had the scene with the bus of him rescuing the kids at the bus, then kids at the schoolyard, right? At Sullivan's Auto Parts Garage, which is obviously an Easter egg for Chloe Sullivan from Smallville. Beating. So that was really we only had exactly Chloe who. We only really had those three examples, and in that the kids, kind of bullying him, he did squeeze the fence post down. He definitely squeezed it down. So no, he didn't use super speed, but
What do you find more insulting? So Pete hits him with two insults during the bus before everything goes down. So the first insult is he calls him ass wipe. Okay. And then later on, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he calls him dick splash. I don't know what what one you would be more offended by. I feel like the second one, because I'm like, what does that mean?
I would be offended because it's actually nonsensical. What is dick splash? Wait, what does that mean? Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't know. I don't know if that was an ad lib or that was written for that young actor to pull off, but it would be a funny story that I would actually like to hear. So let's jump to the handcuff scene, which Scott brings up. So Superman turns himself in after speaking with the priest, which was actually a really cool scene as well. And turns himself in and wears the handcuffs just for cosmetic reasons. And he kind of snaps them off after.
It wasn't for cosmetic reasons. He explained, he goes, they're afraid. This gives them a sense of security, which is completely true. It gave them a sense, we've got him in handcuffs. He can't do anything. It gave them a sense of false security, but it was security nonetheless. They felt that at least if he was locked and cuffed, because if you think about it, handcuffs have been used for like hundreds and hundreds of years. When you do something wrong, they throw you in cuffs so that way you can't use your hands for anything. So it's only makes sense that he would say, sure, put the cuffs on me if it makes you feel better. And then it wasn't until the very end. He's like, all right, I'm out. Like, so I actually thought it was, I think if you're Superman, you're there. First of all, you've just kind of learned about, that you're different from everybody else. You can do things everybody else. People, that you are now the cause of this potential alien invasion. And you're trying to put yourself out there, say, listen, I can help. I am your ally. You have to do something to show people that you are going to be as calm and reasonable to gain their trust. If you just walk in there to try to handcuff, you're like, get out of here. That's not going to help your cause. So I'm totally fine with it.
Okay, so let's So Jonathan Yo shouts out the whole that teacher. I was like, this has got to be the worst teacher school ever. They just like, let's let all the kids mob up outside this poor kid having an attack, and locking himself in the closet. And then the mom has to, like, if I was the mom, I'd be like, hey, GTFO, guys. Let me handle
he tries
this.
to get him out of the closet, and then he uses heat vision, and it burns the doorknob.
Yeah, I was like, how are they going to explain that later? Let's see if anyone else. Let's get okay. So we've seen a lot of kind of criticisms, and we have seen our share of favorite scenes. If anyone has like a favorite scene that you maybe want to talk about a little bit, or if you have a favorite scene, Rob, or I can go with my favorite scene.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious what. So my favorite scene is well, I do really like, upon rewatching the whole Pa Kent Clark thing, how he's trying to teach him something different. But of course, the one of the first action sequences, which is the fight at the IHOP / Sears / whatever in the town where those guys lock the doors and the doors are like paper thin. I'm like, what's this locking of the door gonna do? But that entire sequence and fight, I thought it was really well put together, even more so than towards the end of the film. I feel like it was like my daughter decides she wants Oreos right now.
Sure.
Since you're in the middle, since I'm in the middle of recording, here you go. Here's Oreos.
Go away.
And then even like the part where at first they open fire on Superman, which is crazy. They say they're like 3 hostiles, blah blah blah, and then Superman saves I forgot what his name is, the one of the higher ranking army guys from the helicopter.
Maloney. Yeah, he was Colonel Har. Can't remember his name.
Hayward or something like that. Yeah. And then later on, like he's going to leave, and then they like have their guns pointed, and they see him come around the corner, and then they all lower their guns, and then the guy's like, this is not our enemy. Like I think that's definitely one of my favorite scenes. And then we'll get into specifics of maybe actual performances or actors or actresses that maybe you really like. So maybe you jump to your favorite scene, and anyone else got your favorite scene. Let me know.
I actually agree with you, John. That whole fight sequence, especially seeing, he doesn't know how to fight, and people were really, again, I remember the criticisms, and maybe you do as well. People were saying, wait a minute, Superman's getting his ass handed to him. It's established at the beginning of the movie that these Kryptonians are part of like an army. They're an elite guard. So that Feora, it was like watching a video game of seeing her zipping in and out and like just dismantling.
Yeah, she used the super speed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course, she's kicking the crap out of Superman because he's never fought. So he throws some cool punches.
He's untrained. Yeah.
Yes. So she's a trained soldier. He is not. So it completely stands to reason, regardless of superpowers or not, she is now on equal footing for the most part. She's going to kick his ass. So I really liked it. I actually really enjoyed the scene where he emerges out of the scout ship, which I really was supposed to be an allegory to the Forces of Solitude. He's got the costume on. He looks up at the sun, and his flying, like, he doesn't just get it. Like it's trial and error, right? You can see he's full of exuberance and excitement, and then he crashes through that mountain, right? He like flies right to the mountain, and then you see his hand get up and some of that, and he looks back up, and then he does where he's down, and you see the particles all around him rumbling. Now, when I went to the theater and saw that, I remember seeing that scene, and I believe it was I'm going to geek out now. Season 7 or so of Smallville. The first time you saw Clark actually fly up, and I think he jumped onto a rocket, but it was the exact same thing. He was down, and the ground sort of rumbling beneath him as he shot up. So I was like, oh my God, they're using the same idea from Smallville. So I really enjoyed that scene. You're muted.
Yeah, so a lot of people are agreeing that that character Feora or whatever. Yeah, the female member of Zod's gang definitely stole the show in that portion. So that might bring up another a little thing that I was going to ask. What is your favorite like non-main cast character in this movie? And I'm actually, a lot of people mentioned him here. Some people mentioned he was from Law and Order, but that general guy, the army guy, I think he was good. And Gordon shouts at the line to a good death is its own reward, which she says to him, and then in the end he ends up sacrificing himself, which is always cool. I'm a sucker for like kind of like the soldiers kind of doing the right thing and like a self-sacrifice type thing. So I actually really like that character, and he didn't really, he definitely wasn't a main character, but he did kind of, like, you saw him in the background a lot. So do you have a favorite non-main cast character?
I do, and so this is interesting because I have a couple honorable mentions. I mean, and
anywhere in the comments, shout out your favorite non-main cast
tell
character.
us. Yeah, I thought Diane Lane did a great job as Martha Kent when she's like, "Get the hell out of here!" Like, she has like this snarl about her. But I'm gonna say that my favorite,
she gets her ass kicked and she's like, "Go to hell," kind of.
Yeah, go to hell. Awesome. She was like snarl, right? She's like, I don't give a shit. Is actually Dylan Sprayberry. He played the teenage version of Clark Kent, the one after who saved everybody on the bus. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the scene he had with Kevin Costner that I just had mentioned about, my to save him, what was he supposed to do? And when Kevin Costner shows him the ship, he comes down, and the kid, when Costner says, he goes, "Well, what is it?" And he goes, "You're the answer, son. You're the answer about whether or not we are alone in the universe." And he says, he goes, "But can I just pretend? Can I just keep being your son?" And
I think pretend. Can I keep pretending to be your son or something?
And Costner is, "You are my son." And that scene actually gets me every time, but it gets me because of Costner. Because listen, man, obviously Costner's a great actor. I consider him, a part of the main in this. I'm hanging out for this kid though, because man, his delivery in those lines had me. He wasn't like a Nickelodeon actor who I was like, okay, he's just saying lines and his acting's not that great. This guy really made you believe that he was terrified. Was he maybe 13, 14 years old, and you're being told that you're not human, that you're from another planet. We found you in this ship. And he goes, "I just want to be your son." And he goes, "You are my," like, that kid sold it to me. So that would probably be out of get rid of all the main actors and this and that. If I was to really focus on one periphery actor, I'd have to give it to Dylan Sprayberry, who played Clark Kent in the teenage years.
Yeah, I'm seeing. I thought he did a really good job as young Clark. But a lot of people mentioning assistant director Harold Cooper, which is possibly Martian Manhunter. I don't know if we want to dive into that.
No, he's not. He's General Saw. Yeah. I could bring up the full cast list, but
someone from the Blacklist. It's escaping me right now.
Let me go down to the full cast here. So who did they say? Sorry, they said director Harold Cooper.
He might be that in the Blacklist, the general from the Blacklist. I don't know which character that was. If you guys know what the character did in the movie, give us a quick shout out so we can remember. Let me see here. I don't know. I don't know a lot of people's names. Some people saying James Spader should have been added to this. Ultron as a voice or as a character.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm actually going through the cast list on IMDb, and I don't see anybody named Cooper. Assistant director Harold.
General Swanwick. Oh, maybe is that the same guy that I chose?
He's Henry Lennox. So he plays General Swanwick, and you can get into who he is going to be rumored to be in Justice League if you'd like.
Yeah. Okay. So let's let's go. Like we've hit a bunch of our favorite scenes. So like, do we want to cover any more of the kind of criticisms of this movie?
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of just quickly bring up, and I'll be very as quick as I can. A big controversy and criticism. Actually, really, there's two, John. The end scene with him and Zod, but preceding that was the amount of death and destruction that was caused in this movie. People were really upset that you have a Superman movie and there are hundreds of thousands of lives, buildings being that were lost, buildings falling on other people, just terraforming Metropolis, killing hundreds of thousands. People were really upset about this. I wasn't that bothered by it, and I'll tell you why. Let's go to pick any alien invasion movie, and what generally happens. People weren't pissed off when Independence Day blew up half the world. People weren't being like, "Oh my God, the body count." So this is what happens in alien invasion movies. Why this was a surprise to anybody, it was that in and of itself was a surprise to me. I didn't understand it. So I'm I don't have a problem with what happened. I think it stands to reason. That's what happens in alien invasion movies, and that's what this was in that second and third act. The last controversy was obviously Superman's decision to snap Zod's neck. Again, I didn't have a problem with that. People were really upset. It was like, Superman doesn't kill. Well, yeah, he has. I mean, we can pull out a bunch of references where he has in the past, whether it's in the comics or everything else. Like, this type of stuff has happened. I understand why people were so put off by it. They're like, he could have just pulled him backwards. He could have put his hands over Zod's eyes and saved that family. Why did the family not run the other way? I get you're in a corner, but the corner has two sides. They could have bolted the other way.
Why did you zigzag? I feel like if they just made that situation look a little bit more believable, that it was his only choice. But I'm like, upon the rewatch, I'm like, yeah, he had to make that decision, and maybe he thought that was the only decision he had. And they're like, oh, maybe Superman could have covered his, but he didn't know. Like, we're day one Superman, so I think it's fine. He makes a mistake on day one that maybe he never ever repeats again.
Well, don't forget, it's also, he's trying to, again, it's another allegory. He's trying to save the humans, and to do that, he has to kill the only other person that's exactly like him. So just when he found out he wasn't alone in the universe, he sent 7 of them away. They're gone into the Phantom Zone. And the only other person who he's tried to talk reasonably to, he has to make the sacrifice. So, oh yeah. I wish you were going to tell me that you're going to put this up. This is one thing I didn't understand. And you're muted, so nobody can hear you.
I'm just laughing though.
This was a scene when Zod on Krypton, when Zod and his group of minions, they get essentially frozen in Kryptonian carbonite. I was at the theater watching this, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what the hell?" And then they fly up into the air, and I was like,
did no one see this beforehand and be like, guys, we gotta add some corners and things to these coffins?
Well, yeah, like, to me, I think to myself, I wonder if I wonder if Doc Johnson is like, hey, we may have a copyright infringement on our products here. I was like, it was so.
I looked at the chat, and I'm not going to be able to function for a quick second. We're not going to read it. We're going to pop it up in the chat. So if you're listening on the audio, you can check out the video if you want to read some of these comments. Rob can do this one in an Oprah voice if he wants.
Oprah, and you get a dildo, and you get a dildo, and we all got dildos. Yeah, it was crazy. I think that there were, Fraser. I think if you look back at that photo, they're there. They're just flat. like I don't know if yeah. I mean, it's like,
I don't know if the other
yeah, like, there it is. I mean, come on, like, that's. Yeah, you're right, John. Like, listen, these movies go through hundreds and hundreds of hours of production design, and Zack Snyder has given a whole bunch of, like, all the animals and the dragons and everything else. He has to approve every design. He goes, no, let's change that. Let's do this. He kind of, at no point somebody say,
they gave it to the intern, or they were in a rush. They were like, okay, dragons look cool, armor looks cool, birthing pods look cool, all this kind of stuff. This is cool. All right, what else you got? Oh, there's these things that they send them into the Phantom Zone with. Sure, whatever. Yeah, just send it through. It'll be all good.
But how can you? Okay, so after all of that production, and you've approved the design, and you filmed it, you have the video effects people working on it, and then you're sitting there in the editing suite. And you're watching it on the screen, and you're not, like, at no point do you go like, do they look like giant dongs to you, Gary? And Gary says, I don't know, Zach, I don't really see it. And he's like, all right, yeah, keep it in. Like, I'm just so surprised.
I think the rest of the show can be filled up with it, so I don't know how much more we have to cover. I'm getting too distracted, like, kind of like covering that. But I think in the comments someone did mention the whole someone was upset with all the killing and stuff going on. But this was purposely set up as a darker tone along the lines, as you mentioned before, the Nolan Batman feel and things like that. Kind of make a darker Superman is what we heard a lot of.
Yeah. Oh, very funny, Gordon. Yeah, well, I think they tried to make it more grounded in reality than what we had seen previously in a Superman movie. And so I don't have any problems with the decisions that they made for this movie and the decisions, whether it's the death of Pa Kent, whether it's Superman getting his ass kicked, whether it's, him even talking to that priest. I mean, the only thing I would say if I had a criticism, John, is a little bit too much of this from Jor-El as the sentient AI, right?
Yeah. I was like, you could have cut, especially when he comes back as an AI, or the and the joke is like I think there's a comic strip where the wife's like, "Hey, you made me one too," and he's like, "Yeah, totally, I made you one too. Don't worry." And then he's like, "No." But yeah, I feel like they could have done with a little of that, maybe to give some other people more time. But so now let's hit main cast, I guess, before we start to wrap this up. Like Henry Cavill, obviously. I really like Amy Adams in this movie. I don't know if it's earned or maybe I'm just a fanboy. Ever since Enchanted, I've been a huge fan of hers. But it's a great movie. Don't even scoff. You own it.
There's no credibility of being a top tier comic book YouTube channel.
All right, fine. Should I say that? What was the Mark Wahlberg Christopher Batman one?
Your head. Mark Wahlberg Batman. What are you talking about?
No. Was the boxing movie with her, had Amy Adams, Christian Bale, and somebody else in it. Who was the boxer? I want to say it was Mark Wahlberg was the boxer.
Yeah.
No, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyways.
Okay, so Amy Adams is your pick as
I really like her in it. I don't know if it's earned though. So I like when she grabs the gun. I think she could have taken charge a little bit more instead of having guidance from Jor-El. Like I feel like it would have been really cool if she was just like she did hit all those guys that she was aiming at, but it would have been cool if she was just like, I got this, boom, 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 shoot these guys, and you're like, oh, Lois Lane's a badass. But yeah, everything else she kind of does when she's talking to Clark and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if Sarah wants to bring up. She sent me a message about a line that Superman says to her, which is they kiss, and then she's like, oh, it's downhill after the first kiss, and then Superman's like, only for humans or something like that, and you're like, damn, dis. I called it like an alien flex, like Superman's just flexing. I'm alien, yo.
I'm not bound by your kissing rules. For me, I'm going to go with Michael Shannon as Zod. This was a bit of a different Zod. I mean, we've all come to know Zod being, Terrence Stamp from Superman 2, who was a good Zod, but Michael Shannon gave a bit more of a different take on him. Very angry. But you understood any great villain, they believe in the purpose and what they're doing. And that's why a lot of people really love Thanos in the Avengers movies, because they like, he's not wrong. But I quite enjoyed Michael Shannon's portrayal of General Zod. I'd probably go with a combination of Diane Lane and Kevin Costner as his parents, because they weren't in the movie very long. So the two of them I would put right up there. But I wanted to.
Shannon rocked that Caesar cut like a champ.
He
like,
did.
I don't think a lot of people like can pull it off and look like a mean as hell destroyer of worlds like he did.
Yeah. So yeah, big fan of Michael Shannon as Zod. There's not, to be honest with you, I think Zod is a very difficult person to, I don't know who you would get. I mean, I know that in a lot of the comics of recently, I feel even the Tomasi run and Pat Gleason, he's very built. He's huge, got the beard and whatnot. Zod's a very difficult person for whatever reason in my head to be able to see who I would cast as Zod, as an imposing figure against Superman. And I thought Michael Shannon would not have been my first choice, but man, he did a great job.
Yeah. So I guess we're hitting about an hour and a bit, folks. So I guess
I do want to mention this is a great scene though, wasn't it? Remember as the building's falling down and supposedly Jenny Olsen,
she's trapped into this rubble, which I question how they actually got her out of it. Because she was in there really good.
Yeah,
but that was the whole she kind of reaches and basically I'm here.
We're gonna die together.
If we're going, we're going together. That was a really, really cool moment. But I want to get everyone's thoughts. Did you have a certain opinion of this movie when it first came out? Did you not like it? Has it changed? Has it stayed the same? We'll jump quickly to Michelle. She said, so her opinion is this, that it's a good film until Clark turns himself over to Zod and Co. And then she dislikes the rest of the film. I will say I probably do appreciate the film more than I did when it first came out. I actually didn't go see it in the theaters, falling victim to the criticism. Like this happened to me a lot before, because later on I really got into going to movies, and I would go every week to see the new thing.
That's because you were married with kids. Now you want to get the hell out.
Yeah, maybe. I think my firstborn was 1 year old, so I would have been able to go see this, but for some reason everyone kind of trashed it and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to see it in the theaters, so I ended up watching it afterwards. So I do kind of regret that, and maybe if I saw it in the theaters I would have liked it more right off the bat. But I do agree with her that towards the end of the movie is where it does lose some of the steam for me. So I'll let Rob jump in because my daughters are going nuts.
So wait, did you appreciate it more now than you did back then? Is what you're saying?
I think the film has definitely grown on me, and definitely there's lots of scenes that I will rewatch, and that whole idea. And it is a shame that we don't get a true follow up to this particular movie.
So I saw this at the theater. I think I might have gone twice to the theater. I was day one picking this up, obviously. I've watched this movie a lot. I'm a big fan of it. If you haven't been able to tell in tonight's show, I'm a big fan of this movie. And I enjoyed it when I first saw it. I did somewhat fall a bit. I was kind of getting annoyed that I had to keep defending the amount of killing in the movie, and I think for me it kind of put me off a little bit. But I've watched it numerous times since, not just because of this show, because I usually watch maybe once or so a year. I really enjoy this movie, and so I think I've grown to appreciate it a lot more. We're at 8 years since it came out, so that's it, and it still holds up, and it still feels relevant, and it doesn't look crappy. I think one of the fears that you have when you have a CGI heavy movie is that eventually that's going to start to look
the world building that Zack Snyder did put together, I think still holds up very well.
Yeah,
and looks really good. You watch the behind the scenes stuff, and there definitely was a lot of effort put in there.
So I'm a big fan of this movie.
Jesse mentions the whole Zod adapting to the Earth in seconds, but we can attribute that to his supposed military training. So like if you've ever done for example, martial arts or some type of sport, if you have a certain level of ability and someone throws a weapon that you're maybe not used to in your hand, but you have weapons training, you can maybe adapt and go, okay, I see how this works. This goes this way and that type of stuff. So maybe.
Hey, John, I
mention the color palette and things like that.
Well, that is always a big thing.
Stylistically, I think it does look pretty good. I remember someone made an edit where they tuned up the colors and made them brighter, and I think it's available on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I think did look nice. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, how do you compare this though? And I know that the comments are going to go like, "You're an idiot," but how do you compare this with the Marvel movies? Because tonally, it is vastly different. The Marvel movies are very much comic booky, right? Which I'm cool. I've seen all of them. I love them. This is tonally very different. This is more fun for a guy that can fly. This is more grounded than the Marvel movies have been. So how do you compare? Where do you put this on par with like the mid-range Marvel movies? Or
I think if they could have stuck to this, and we'll see as we watch the other movies going, like the Batman v Superman and the Justice League, and then finally when this new Snyder Cut comes out, if this tonality could have created a niche for the DC style or Zack Snyder style. But overall, I do quite feel that this could have gotten closer to there, but they are missing the humor. but when we rewatch the Josh Whedon cut, we'll see they basically try to marvel it up, and I feel like it doesn't quite get there.
Yeah.
And for their Batman films, I think that was the closest, like the Christopher Nolan Batman. I don't know if we can establish that was kind of the closest that DC has kind of gotten to creating something of the level that Marvel had, or maybe even did create something better, and then it just kind of disappeared. But yeah, do you feel the same way, or?
Yeah, I actually, excuse me, I enjoy. Listen, I like all the Marvel movies. I don't. What is it? These are 22. I don't watch all of them on multiple times. There's some of them I just won't. Like, I've watched them a couple of times, but like, I have like Iron Man. I'll watch Iron Man anytime, right? Ragnarok. I love Ragnarok. I'll put that on anytime. I'm a big fan of Infinity War.
Ragnarok. I loved it in the theaters. I've never rewatched it. I loved it when I saw it in theaters. I was like laughing out loud. I was like, "Oh man, this is so hype!" But I have never rewatched it.
Yeah, no, I like
Guardians. Guardians, I feel.
Yeah, so like a lot. Listen, Winter Soldier, even Civil War to an extent. I'll rewatch like maybe about a handful of those. I rewatch this quite often, more so than probably the other Marvel DC movies that have come out. So for me, I kind of hold it up in a pretty high. I think it plays in the big leagues. If Marvel being the big leagues, then I would say probably, man, this is gonna be controversial. More than 2/3 of what Marvel has put out. This is way better than. I know that Michelle said it's maybe better than Thor 2. That's it. I think this is better than Iron Man 3. I think this is better than Iron Man 2. I think it's better than Thor 2. I'm sorry, guys. I actually prefer this over Guardians 2. Like, wow, so
that's a hot take.
Yeah,
Jonathan Hill mentions it's nowhere close to Winter Soldier, and I think that's an impossible task.
Sure.
That is probably the top of the heap.
Yeah,
top of the heap is Winter Soldier.
I feel like Dark
Knight Rises, not Dark Knight Rises. What's
the Dark Knight?
What's the heat like? Dark Knight. Yeah, the Dark Knight. I feel like Winter Soldier, Dark Knight are the two winners of the categories right now. And I feel like this is in the upper half. Like, it's definitely not at the bottom with Suicide Squad and that kind of stuff.
No, not for sure. But as an origin story, to be very honest with you, and again, this might upset people, I prefer this movie over the first Avenger, the first Captain America movie. I enjoy that, but I have a lot more fun watching this one.
This guy, look at Rob's background. This is all DC.
Well, hang on. I did though, but I still have a bunch of Marvel stuff as well. All right, like get out of here.
Well, let's rank it now, and as we watch the other two movies plus the Snyder Cut, right now from your memory, because we've obviously all watched this. This is fresh. Do you guys rank this at the top right now? Right now, I feel like it's at the top for me. Of the
Snyder movies.
Of the Snyder movies, yeah. Sure. Like, obviously you can predict that maybe the Snyder Cut is going to blow everything out of the water, and that's going to be your top. But running from your memory of the next two movies, unless you cheated and unless you went ahead and watched the other two movies before then, for me, I feel like this is the top right now for me. And Batman versus Superman, and maybe Justice League Whedon Cut, and then we'll see where Snyder Cut lands. So I don't know if anyone has Fraser already jumped in and he says number one, and I think that's the statement he made earlier. Rob, is it your number one out of these, or does Batman versus Superman beat this?
No. This is definitely above Batman and v Superman, and we'll get into that next week. We are watching the extended edition, I think, right, John?
We're gonna, if everyone can watch, because I don't think it's available on streaming. So if you do have to go pick up a copy, or I don't know if it's for rent on YouTube. I know Sarah and Gordon rented a lot of the 80s movies we watched on YouTube. A lot of those movies were actually added to this new Disney Plus Star service, right? Aliens is on there and things like that. So if you want to start working ahead towards our 80s sci-fi, check that out.
But we are going to, if you have an opportunity to check out the extended edition of Batman vs. Superman, definitely give that a go. I personally prefer that version over the theatrical one, and we'll talk about that next week. But for me, as I said, John, Man of Steel for me is number one. Upon rewatching this stuff,
I think general consensus, even Michelle, who says who says she didn't like the entire last half of this movie, or last third of this movie, says she also states that it's not a high bar. So thank you, Michelle, for getting in there, and everybody else. This has been pretty awesome. We didn't have any kind of complete uprising because Sarah wasn't here to instigate it.
Yeah.
So Gordon makes reference to the whole alien quote. We've started on a high note, and it's all down from here. But potentially this Snyder cut will be the new top, right? We'll I guess I guess we'll see as we watch them. Batman v Superman. I remember enjoying in the theaters. I don't think I've actually watched the extended cut. And Justice League Whedon cut. I didn't mind it in the theaters, but I don't know.
Oh,
whoops, sorry. I might have clicked something and seen that. We both have access to turning on the comments. So
yeah. I just wanted to shut up, Jonathan here. We find out Bruce's dad's middle name is Jonathan. Maybe you'll have to watch to find out.
So is there anything else we want to cover for this, or anyone in the comments quickly? Is there anything last minute thing that we need to talk about this particular movie?
Does this get you excited? Does this get you excited for Snyder? We're only 3 weeks away. Does this get you excited?
I did quite enjoy watching this. I like this as a good representation of, I think, it's just a shame of what could have come after this if they believed in it and got a follow-up movie proper to this.
If anybody wants a fun little thing to do at some point, if you just Google on YouTube, Man of Steel flying scene kid, you'll see there's a scene of a baby. Maybe he's like 9 or 10 months or whatever, watching, I guess, this movie with his dad. And as soon as Superman flies up in the air, he's like, oh, he puts his hands up. It's pretty funny to watch. It's pretty cool. Whatever, Sarah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Superman and Lois. Yeah, we I feel like, because we're not going to cover it in the main podcast anymore, maybe we should kind of come back to it. So if anyone else is watching the show, maybe me and Rob will come back a couple episodes in and see if we've changed our mind.
Well, so you brought up the main show, John. So for those who haven't seen, the main show is up now. The podcast with obviously John and I, and then Stu and Andre. We run down WandaVision episode 8. We gave our thoughts. It's a long episode. We went almost like an hour just giving our thoughts on WandaVision. We then went into the Superman and Lois review, which Sarah is completely wrong about. It's a great show. And we had to actually, the conversation went very interesting with Andre and myself giving different points of view over the parenting skills of Clark Kent. So I'd be interested to find out what people thought. So please go watch that and comment as well. Andre gives his recommendation of a great Superman run that by Peter Tomasi and Pat Gleason, which are in trade right now, but they are having their omnibus is coming out in May. If you want to get in on that, you got to order that. Get on the horn to John. I'm excited. I put an order in. I'm super stoked. It's a great run. And we also talked about, because why not? Let's just finish off Superman. We talked about the news of J.J. Abrams producing a new Superman movie for Warner Brothers. No word on whether Henry Cavill will be returning or not, but the writer Ta-Nehisi Coates has been tapped to write the screenplay. So that's all on the main podcast. You can definitely go to the YouTube channel and check that out. And comment on that. Comment on this if you're listening after the fact, because we are obviously live. Thanks for downloading and for listening and for joining, and everybody in the comments. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks in the comments, everyone. It was a blast as usual. It's lots of fun. So next week, Batman versus Superman extended cut. If you can watch it, if you own some other copy, we'll probably go over it. We'll have to go over the differences, I think, Rob.
Yeah, that's fine. If all you have is the regular version, that's cool. That's fine. Just watch it and we'll fill you in. Yeah.
All right. So this is that guy over there. Always damn mirroring. That guy over there, Rob Goddard. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram.
Hey, that's John. You can follow. No, our fingers are touching. It's so gross.
I'll Photoshop some electricity in there. You can follow me, jho.heroesworld on Instagram, my shenanigans. And definitely, check out. And if you haven't watched our Running Man episode, which was last week, that was a blast. So you got to get in there and watch a surprising turn of events. So anyone who's asked me, who won, Running Man or Predator, I say you got to watch that episode, and you can't you can't Sarah already trying to kick up shit right now. Anyways, yeah. So Superman, Man of Steel. I think generally everyone was pretty happy with it. How many fetches out of 10 does it get or whatever? I don't know how we can use this vernacular.
I don't know either. All I know though is that I think it's definitely
fetch or not fetch, I guess would be our designation of the game. Fetch from Rob, fetch from me.
Yeah, I think John, I think it's evidenced by the comments and based on what the critical response was, I think this movie has definitely grown over time. So I'm glad that I had an opportunity to rewatch it. I'm glad that everybody had an opportunity to rewatch it as well. So thanks. Thanks, John.
Yes. Anyways, we've kept you all long enough. Thank you again for joining us. I'll figure out how fetch works. I think we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this year. We're gonna bring it into the vernacular. If
okay,
is the terminal. Rob's not on board, but we'll make him on board. But anyways, definitely tune in on audio. Please subscribe, rate, leave a comment, all that kind of jazz. If you're listening on the audio, definitely go back and follow that exchange when we start talking about the funny Kryptonian rockets into the sky. It's the sight to behold. So anyway, yeah. All right. And I think this is a good way to end it. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Rob. My kids are already going insane. They should be asleep now.
That's because they had a whole bunch of Oreos, you dummy. All right.
Only one of them, unless you shared with the other one.
Thanks, everybody. Support the store. That's right. Support the store.